It's like running a switchboard over here. Like that's the first time doing the intro on my own.
How does it feel to be God? It feels powerful, doesn't it?
Great. Look, I can even change. Boom. Now it's my face up in the corner. What? You don't want my face? Okay. Como se dice? I don't give a fuck.
After almost, 8 years doing this now, they've got a lot of bits and a lot of reoccurring stuff. So that's what you're seeing up there.
I'm just looking through because I'm not always like given the power of and Cheetah.
Yeah,
there's so many. I just don't know what any of these are for. Anyway, welcome to Omnibros Live on a Wednesday night. I'm here with the wonderful and unimitatable Lou, Comics Guide. How are you doing?
Good, man. You flatter me. How about you? How are you doing?
I got myself a Baja Blast. It's almost done, but the colors on the little wavies are like the color of Baja Blast.
Oh, have you tried the new menu? The new items on the menu? You have, haven't you?
Yeah, I did all of them on the show.
That's right. Correct.
Might have to get Taco Bell to sponsor the show at some point, but until then, we have our sponsor In Stock Trades to thank for the years of supporting our show. InStockTrades.com, where you can buy all your comics and manga and manhwa and other goods for hefty discounted prices. Fantastic customer service and shipping, free shipping in the US after $50. Great packaging, 2% loyalty discount if you order another something within a week. A lot of reasons to go shopping with our sponsor who's been supporting our channel for years, InStockTrades.com. So check them out. They'll be selling most of the stuff that we're going to talk about on the show tonight, as we talk about the recent passing of master of manga Akira Toriyama.
Yes. Yeah, man.
We just dive right on in on this one.
Yeah, I think so. His body of work there. I think there's enough that we could fill in a good chunk of time tonight, just on his body of work and stuff like that. So, my first question would be, what was the first time that you can recall that you were exposed to Akira Toriyama's work? For those of you that don't know, I don't know how, because it's literally been everywhere. It was in Time magazine. It's been everywhere. Akira Toriyama, famous mangaka, passed away from a brain hemorrhage. Was that what it is? It was a hematoma, I think it was.
Yeah, he had some bleeding of the brain. It was the same thing, I believe, that Willie Mays went out due to.
Yeah, unfortunately. This is a thing that apparently he had a brain tumor as well, so it was something that was known that he would eventually pass for a while, and it was one of those things where it was just unfortunately his time. The thing with Toriyama is he's been notoriously very much a recluse. He's very hard to get a hold of. He deliberately so. I think the last photo before the one that popped up all online over the last few days was what, 2017, 16, something like that.
Yeah, there's one of him around that time, and he's wearing like a beanie and a tracksuit. He's talking to someone, but that's like the last public photo I think that a lot of people have of him.
Yeah, he sadly ended up passing away. Was it 5 days before the rest of the world knew? The family kept it very private.
It was on the 1st, and we didn't find out until like the 7th or something, or the 6th.
Yeah, the family kept it very private, which I can't blame them. But yeah, when was the first time you were exposed to some of Akira Toriyama's work?
Knowingly, I'd say it was a random episode of Dragon Ball Z from the Frieza saga. They were on Namek already. I know that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember specifically what happened in that episode, but that would have been late 90s, very early 2000s. I want to say late 90s was when I first saw something. And
Tsunami Block?
Yeah, it was after school. It was after school. I went to my friend's my friend Chris's place, and he and I are still friends. Like we hang out every other weekend still now. It's going to be our 30-year friendversary this year.
Nice.
And I went to his place after school. We were hanging out, doing homework, eating dinner, and he watched it already for a while. He'd been watching it regularly, and it popped on TV. So he was watching the episode, and I was like, "What is this?" Because it's so different. And I think that like my pre-exposure to other Japanese media, being a huge fan of Godzilla and all that stuff, and being a huge fan of Power Rangers, kind of predisposed me to some of the things that I would like in Dragon Ball Z, like the type of action that there was, martial arts and stuff like that being a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because of all that, I think it immediately drew me in. I was like, oh, this is for me. This is something for me.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just would watch it anytime I caught it. And I started to pick up like VHSs and DVDs of episodes whenever I would find them, and eventually it just like became one of the biggest things that I liked as a kid. It was like my personality for several years was all just what about you?
Well, for me, it was definitely the same thing. I think for a lot of kids, our age, kind of the millennial generation, we grew up with Toonami, right? That was, we come home, we throw our backpack on the side of the door, we take off our shoes, and we run to the TV because Toonami would start within about 30 minutes. And you knew you were going to get back-to-back block of cartoons and anime. And that would go till almost 7 o'clock at night. So it was about 4 or 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock at night. You had your cartoons. You'd probably do your homework in between commercials and stuff like that. For me, though, it was my mom was going to a gym at the time. I still remember exactly where I was. My mom was going to the gym at the time, and she dropped my brother and off in kind of like that daycare area at the gym. And the TV was on, and they were playing a random episode of Dragon Ball Z. The episode in question, I still remember what it was the one where Yajirobe cuts off Vegeta's tail when he's turned into the Big Ape. And I just lost my mind as a kid. I was like, what is this? I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that. And then it wasn't until probably about a year or two later, I'm trying to remember, the Toonami block kind of kicked off. And that's really where things popped off for a lot of people our generation and our age, where you had, I think people underestimate just how big of an influence Toonami had on us as kids and how much it paved the way for anime to make a huge transition into the United States, mainly through Dragon Ball Z. There were things such Dragon Ball had existed way before Dragon Ball Z and things like that, but Dragon Ball Z was really the thing that popped off here in the States. And it would be the catalyst that would introduce a lot of people to Akira Toriyama's work. He had been in the industry for years before, working on things such as Dragon Quest and things like that. But Dragon Ball Z really was the thing that influenced an entire generation. I mean, I still very much remember being a kid on the playground, and all of us would be, beating the shit out of each other, trying to mimic what we saw the night before on Cartoon Network. It was a simpler time, and it was a time that if I could just get one day in my life to go back to, just for a few hours, I think I'd go back to that kind of carefree time.
I remember in the vein of like, playing DBZ or whatever, with friends and stuff. I remember going to, when I was in middle school, a football game, like a school football game, and I was like talking to a couple of the girls from my class, and my sister, who's 5 years younger than me, was there, and like someone brought up Dragon Ball Z, and like I might have been wearing a DBZ shirt, as it were, and one of the girls was like, "Oh, I watched some DBZ," and I'm like, "Oh, cool." Cool. You want to talk about DBZ? Throwing on that, that early 2000s Riz. And my sister's standing there and she's like, oh, Dragon Ball. And she starts like pretending to do a Kamehameha. And I'm like, this girl knows nothing about this shit, but she knew that. That's just a like vivid memory that I have.
And that is such a difference from then to now, where anime has really exploded with the younger generation versus when we were kids. Outside of Dragon Ball, if you watched anime, you were kind of regarded as the weird kids in school, and they kind of hanged out with each other and they sat next to each other and stuff like that. But they were a lot of the kids back then were the odd bunch, for lack of a better term. Nowadays, it's everybody fucking watches the shit.
But that was also the one that was like the most mainstream one when we were growing up. So like, even if like there were people who just didn't watch anime, but they watched Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
that was something that brought so many of my friends together. Like a lot of the guys that I became super good friends with, we wouldn't have had that if it weren't for that show. Like that was the thing that we saw we shared in common.
Mm-hmm.
If I saw someone with a Dragon Ball sticker on their binder at school or something, I'm like, oh, hey, Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
That was the thing that we got brought together by. And like when we would hang out, especially like it was the video games. Like we would be playing the Dragon Ball video games all the damn time.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. Did you have the GT game?
I didn't have it, but one of the guys in the group had a bootleg version of it.
It was such a shitty game too. It was horrible.
We brought it over to one of our friends' house, and it was literally bootleg, like just a CDR that had GT written on it. They put it in the station, and it played, and we were playing it all night long.
It was a horrible fucking game too. I remember. Oh my God, there's like 7 versions of Goku in the fucking game because they didn't want to bother to program different characters and stuff like that, and it was just a terrible game. The thing with Toriyama is, with his passing, it almost didn't feel real to me. Because it was trending online, and I looked online, and I'm like, oh, Toriyama, oh my God, he died. It took me a minute. It took me quite a few hours actually to process, like, holy shit, this guy passed away. I didn't even. It's one of those things where you don't realize, oh yeah, a lot of these people that we grew up with, they're starting to get up there in age, and they're not going to be around forever. That's kind of the stark realization that I hit. But Toriyama's on a bigger scale. I'm struggling to think of somebody who had as huge of a cultural influence as Toriyama has that has passed away in the last few years. Certainly Miura was huge for Berserk, but
I haven't seen this big with a death
since
Michael Jackson.
It's that large. It really is that large in scale. Just on a different wavelength, because it obviously wasn't music. This was manga and anime, but
with really how much he influenced everything, it was on that same level of influence.
Pop culture today is a lot of it is Toriyama, is based on Toriyama and stuff like that. You would not get a lot of the stuff that kids love today. Jujutsu Kaisen, you could argue My Hero Academia, all this, a lot of stuff they borrowed from Toriyama in some way, shape, or form, and from the stuff he was doing in early Dragon Ball and things like that. And the thing is, Dragon Ball was more comedic, which is kind of the weird thing. If you look at that early Dragon Ball stuff, it really was very lighthearted in tone. It was very cheeky, but it wasn't until you start getting into Dragon Ball Z that it starts getting more serious and more darker and stuff like that. But Toriyama at his heart, I always thought, was kind of more of a funny guy. That's kind of the tone that he presented in the early Dragon Ball stuff. But his influence is crazy. You have people all around the world that were mourning his death. I mean, you have literal parades in, I think it was Argentina, that I saw people having parades honoring the man. You have, I forgot where it was. It was in Nicaragua or somewhere like that in South America, where a whole shit ton of people gathered and did the spirit bomb, like the hands up in the sky and things like that. Online, you never know what to believe online and stuff like that. Some people were saying, "Oh, the cartelists that they were doing a ceasefire in honoring Toriyama," which it's online. You never know and stuff like that. But the cultural influence that he had, specifically in Latin American culture, is massive, absolutely massive. I would argue it's almost on a larger scale than from his from Japan, especially in Mexico, where when they had the Jiren fight with Goku, they broadcast it in a city square, and people from all around that city showed up to watch it like if it was a real fucking fight. It's crazy. You can see the videos online. It went as far as the Toho reached out because they found out that it was going to happen and said, "Hey, we want you to shut this down because of copyright." And the city, the governor of the city in Mexico said, "Yeah, that's funny. It's not happening." And eventually, Toho blinked and they just said, "Okay, well, just mention us when you broadcast this." Oh my God, yeah.
His influence is seen in so much of pop culture. This is one of my favorites. Is he may be responsible for the poop emoji? The design of the poop emoji specifically, like the little swirl with a smile. He had the poop smiling back in the Dr. Slump era. He a lot of close that. I don't have the next one ready yet, but a lot of stuff for Mario as well. Shigeru Miyamoto, had said that some stuff for Mario was inspired from hold on, I'm sharing screen from Dr. Slump and the character Arale. So you have the blue overalls, the way that she runs with her arms out and the hands perpendicular, like at a right angle. The Tanuki suit, she has that as well. And even you could look at her cap with the wings that comes back in 64 with the winged cap. Like so many things that came from that series. And that was back, before Dragon Ball. And this was when he was really on his goofy train right there. Was like, this series is goofy as hell. There was someone on like Twitter who was saying something about like, Toriyama was really great at making silly little dude characters.
Yeah.
And they were like, here's some of my favorites. And they didn't even touch a single character from Dr. Slump. I just put a cast photo and I was like, the majority of Dr. Slump is silly little guys. Like that that series is Silly Little Guys, the series. Like let me get a picture if you're unaware. The main character in the series, get my share screen back. That's the main character. I mean, the secondary main character after Arale is her creator, the Dr. Slump, Senbei Norimaki, and that's his body shape is this funny little guy. Is this little squat, but sometimes they animate him a lot cooler. But in general, this is what you get, and so many of the characters in Dr. Slump have this exact same body type. And going into Dragon Ball, he continued to use that body type on a lot of those characters, and you get like young Goku looked like that basically. Grandpa Gohan, Krillin, Yajirobe, like all these characters that appear throughout Dragon Ball have that same style. And then once you get in Dragon Ball Z is where he starts making them a little more serious looking and stuff. But even if you go and compare the artwork in the Dragon Ball Z manga to the Dragon Ball Z anime, the manga, they're kind of silly looking. They're silly little guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, he loves his silly little guys. I love his silly little guys too, and fantastic all the way through. I had something else I was gonna touch on outside of silly little guys, but I'll leave this for now.
Yeah.
Come back to it.
Yeah, kind of going back to like the cultural phenomenon thing. What's up, Gabe? You there? Can we hear?
Yeah. Mute button. Okay. What up, everybody?
What's up, man? We're just talking Toriyama right now.
Nice.
Yeah. Coming back to the cultural phenomenon thing, I see some people mention in the chat that they think maybe somebody like Kirby or Romita Sr. or Mobius were on that high level. I love those guys. Don't get me wrong. But when Kirby passed, or hell, I saw some people comparing it to Stan Lee, it was not this big. It wasn't. It was not a worldwide mourning thing where you, like I said, you literally had parades of people celebrating his life and his passing and monuments and stuff like that. I joked around in the chat and I said that Toriyama will have an ofrenda on a lot of people's Day of the Dead shrines this coming year. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I think that will be a thing that's going to happen a lot.
No, I believe it, because when I first got into seeing Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, it would be like just from the Vegeta saga all the way up to like Frieza, and then they would just start over and start over and start over.
God, I hate
but on the Spanish channel, it had all the episodes, right?
Yeah.
So I would just watch the Spanish channel, just because, I just watch. You can kind of figure out what's going on by just watching it, right? I don't speak Spanish, but but it'd be on the Spanish channel, so it had that kind of a cultural phenomenon in Latin American countries. If they translated it beyond what they had in America, it was wide. The translation was wider in Latin America.
Yeah, it totally was. It hit me like a ton of bricks, but it took some time to hit me like a ton of bricks. And you see, like Riley was mentioning, you see his influence in pop culture. Things like somebody pointed out in the chat, Cloud's outfit in Final Fantasy VII is basically just Gohan's Cell outfit. And I never even caught that until somebody posted that online the other day. I was like, holy shit, it really is.
I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore, but I see people post photos of wrestlers dressed up in like Dragon Ball Z outfits, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They have their tights, or they look like, Vegeta's outfit, or it looks like Gohan's outfit and stuff like that. So it transcends generations for sure.
Yeah. And they keep finding new ways to bring a new generation of kids. We grew up on the Ocean dub, Riley? That's what we grew up on, right?
Yeah, that was the original one we had.
Is that the one with the Rock the Dragon intro?
Was it?
Yeah, it was a Dragon, Rock the Dragon, Dragon Ball Z.
That was a fire.
Yeah, I don't know if it was.
That's the best intro of Dragon Ball Z.
Dude, if you were a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, or 8-year-old kid and you just heard that anywhere in the house, you just fucking blitz to the TV.
I hate that they did the Rock the Dragon box set that has that dub and that intro. Yeah. I saw it at San Diego Comic-Con. I thought it was just season 1, and that was it. And then later on, I go, it's the entire thing. And then it's a $400 box set now or something. But that Rock the Dragon intro is that's on my gym playlist for sure.
When was the first time you watched Dragon Ball, Gabe? Do you remember?
I went to my friend's house, my best friend Ronald, who I'm still friends with today, and he had a couple of the VHSs.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey, this, check this out. Put this on real quick. Let's watch this. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is awesome. It starts out kind of cutesy, right?
Yeah.
It's very kind of cutesy. Toriyama's style is very kind of chibi-ish. like not even just the characters, like cars, all very kind of compact and kind of like, you know, stubby and cute and stuff like that. But then it's just these hour-long like fights. Like, it just turns into like this escalated event over and over. And it's like, what's going on here? These things turn into like giant monkeys. Like, like I didn't see Dragon Ball first. Like I knew nothing about regular Dragon Ball and them as children. I started at Dragon Ball Z.
I think I did too.
That's what most people here did, because we didn't have Dragon Ball first. We had Dragon Ball Z first.
That makes sense. But that was my first time. I went to a friend's house and he had a couple of VHS. And that was back in the day when like, because then I got into it. I was like, dude, this is killer, you know? Yeah. And I would buy the VHSs. Like I even had like, it's still one of my favorite ones is the Future Trunks.
Oh, that
like
was
VHS
so
where it's like Gohan's missing an arm and stuff like that, right? But that was back in the day when those VHSs had like 3 episodes on it.
Mm-hmm.
They were like $20, and that's like $20, like 1990, early 2000, $20. Like that was a lot of money.
Yeah. And you had to go to the shitty shop in like a flea market or a rundown mall and stuff like that. And you knew the guy was finessing you. You knew the guy was screwing you over because it's like 3 episodes. And sometimes, if they really were assholes, they would give you the 3 episodes and it was in Japanese, but there was no English subtitles on it. And you put it on the VHS, and you're like, "What the fuck? I can't understand what's going on."
But you had to get them all because you can, because the spines match. Like the spines would make a bigger picture of like the VHS like box sets.
Yep.
Yep.
Holy shit! Yeah. I had the same issue as you, Gabe, where I caught it on Toonami, and then you would get to the Namek arc and Goku would arrive, and then it would restart all over again with the Vegeta, with the Raditz stuff. Like it would it would do that. They would do it constantly because I think it was a rights issue. They only had the rights up to a certain point, and then eventually Toonami just like, okay, we need to get the rest of this blowing up right now. But there was a period, I think for almost 2-3 years, it would just run itself through all over again. And as a kid, you're like, I don't give a shit. Okay, I need my Dragon Ball fix. So you would watch. I know I would watch the Japanese version through tapes and stuff like that, or the Spanish dub, which my Spanish is not that good. But you would watch it and just go, I get the gist of it. Like, Gabe, I'm good. I need to know what's going to happen next. And I like Rodimus Prime saying the iconic Japanese Chala theme was a true jam as it was translated in Spanish as well. Hell yes. I love the Spanish version of Chala. It is so good. Oh my God.
I used to have they were called the Dragon box sets, DVDs, and they had the Chala intro into it. Yeah. Still nowhere near as cool as Rock the Dragon. Like that thing like juices me up for some reason, is that intro.
Dude, and the thing, it's so universal in that I grew up in a pretty rough area, but it did not matter. It brought, as cheesy as it is, it really did bring people together because even the most tough guys, like hardcore dudes and stuff like that, would be like, "No, I'm watching Dragon Ball." Like,
it was definitely an icebreaker. It was a good way to make friends. Like,
absolutely,
you know, it was like you knew like the nerds that were into it. You know, and I would go to like the local like Japanese store, and I would be like, "Oh yeah, great, let me get a T-shirt." And that's how I found out the hard way that their sizes aren't exactly American sizes.
Oh my God, yeah, I found out the hard way.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get a large. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm taking home. Like, this is the most ridiculous large I've ever seen.
Just like a tank top on you, stuff like that.
Yeah, I look like Barney from The Simpsons. It's like up over my stomach. It's basically a halter top.
Let me get my charger real quick. I'll be back. Give me a second.
Yeah. And for me, I don't know about you, Riley, but it didn't seem to hit like widespread to me where I knew a lot of people watched it until like maybe like early 2000s, like 2005, 2006, when like Dragon Ball Z Kai came out. It seemed like when Kai came out and they kind of took out all the filler, it became a little bit more mass for people.
Most of the people I knew who were into it, it was before Kai. Mm-hmm. By the time Kai came out, I'd kind of gotten to the point where, like, since the series had already gone through, like, I didn't even pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But no, we were into it. So I remember following through the Cell games, and it took forever after the Cell games ended for them to get the English dub for,
Boo.
Majin Buu, like Great Saiyaman all the way through the end. And
Yeah.
because of how long it took for that to appear on Toonami, the videotapes, the VHS were coming out, and we would go and like buy those. And so like I had several, and like my other friends had several, and we would just watch those together once they were released. And it was so fun because it felt like, we were ahead of the official release.
Yeah.
We were cheating or something, and everyone else was behind, and we were like, "Oh, you don't know about PyCon?"
What, did you hear about the Great Saiyan Man? Like, who the hell is the Great Saiyan Man? What's that about? Yeah.
You don't know about that?
Yeah, there's a guy named Hades, or sometimes Satan, depending on which version you watch.
Dabura, that stuff, like.
Yeah, or people would be like, "Did you know they go like Super Saiyan 4?" And like, what? What does that mean? No way.
Oh,
like,
GT. Jeez, yeah, we get into that. Yeah. So Kai, I think, was a great entry point for a new generation of kids. We suffered. We went through all the filler.
30 episodes of Snake Way, dude. Come on.
Oh my god, yes. And they condensed all that shit. So I'm like, man, that's great. That's great for a new generation.
Because I've been watching it lately over the last couple of months on the treadmill at the gym. Like I'll put on Kai because that's what's on Hulu. Because I used to have the DVDs. Like I watched the DVDs and I had like the VHSs. I've suffered through Snake Way more than enough, right? So I'm like, let me just watch Kai. And it's literally like Snake Way is like 3 episodes. Like, oh, sweet, perfect, Because when it's on Toonami, it'd be like, God damn it, man, this is like 2 weeks. So they would play like 3 or 4 episodes like a day, like after school or something like that.
Yeah.
But it would still take forever to get through like that stuff there.
Here's a question. How, because people in the chat are talking about it. So what are your thoughts on GT? Because technically Toriyama did not work on GT. He did character work. He did some of the designs and stuff like that. I think he provided small story bits here and there, but he did not do GT.
I never saw GT. It was the only one I couldn't find the DVDs.
I was in the same
or the VHSs. Like at that time, like Suncoast was like a bigger thing in my town, and they didn't have GT. It was always like a myth to me of GT. Yeah. I never saw it. I've seen pictures, and I used to. This is back when I first got the internet at school. I'd be looking up Dragon Ball Z stuff, and it'd be like maybe a little hairier, and like
Super Saiyan 1000. He's got like silver hair. All the fans that people have done online and stuff. I remember that. Yeah, Jesus.
I think GT. So it was like a mythical thing at first. It was almost treated like myth. You would look online and people would be like, oh yeah, and then after Z there's GT. Ooh. And I remember we were talking about DBZ and like the Boo saga and stuff, and there was a guy when we were in middle school who was in high school, and we're in like the band room, and he was like, y'all are still watching Z? You got to get on GT. And we're like, how? And he's like, the international channel, guys. And the international channel, if you got up at like 5 a.m., they would show episodes of GT. I was like, what? So I started setting my alarm in the morning to wake up at like 5 a.m. just to catch a subtitled episode of Japanese GT, which very soon after I did that, like I did 1 or 2 episodes, I was like, I can't do this. But they wound up bringing it into English, and a couple of things that are really interesting, like they skipped a whole arc of GT with the English dub, and they came back later and released it as the lost episodes. Those aren't lost episodes. You just skipped it. You were the one who skipped it. What are you talking about, lost episodes? Anyway, so GT was fine, but I think it's better in it's better in concept than it is in execution, because there's a lot of really cool ideas in GT, but the execution was very slow for the most part, which is funny to say because like it's only 60 some odd episodes in comparison to the other stuff. But my opinion on GT has become so much more favorable over the years because I thought that Super was trash. I was like,
Oh wow, I liked
this
it. I like Super.
Super took so long to do anything,
It drags out.
and
It does.
it was over half of Super was tournaments.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all, like, come on, let's do so. And two of the arcs were just redoing the movies that had come out, and then it was a short tournament, and there was the tournament that took up like half of the series. And I'm like, can we not come up with original cool villains for them to fight? And the coolest arc was, in my opinion, the Goku Black arc, which wasn't even a very original villain. It's just an evil Goku. Like,
Yeah.
Super was not. I appreciated the hype around like them achieving different forms and stuff. In that, and like Goku getting the Ultra Instinct and the fight with Jiren and all that. But Jiren's also like the most plain character I've ever seen. Like I was like, really don't care about Jiren whatsoever. Like, Goku, please just punch him through the chest so we can be done with this. And I don't know. It wasn't great. The Super manga is so much better because it does not waste that much time on anything. It just pushes through, and you actually get some more like original villains. Like after the tournament arc, you get Moro, and
I've heard that's great. I've heard the Moro stuff is Toyotaru has been killing it with that stuff.
I think Toriyama wrote it, and Toyotaro just drew and like maybe did dialogue and stuff. But it was that, and then there's the Granola the Survivor arc, which brings in like other species that are really cool. And then now I'm reading it as it comes out physically. They wrapped up the Survivor arc, and it has Frieza getting a new form and all that kind of stuff. And then it started up another arc that takes place, I think, before the superheroes movie that deals with Trunks and Goten. So I enjoy the manga a lot more, but it was like in retrospect, I was like, GT had a lot more cool original ideas. Baby, which was kind of like Boo, but like scarier. And the Black Star Dragons was just a really cool idea. Like, your wishes created these. So I appreciate the concepts. I appreciate the concepts in GT. It just wasn't executed as well as it should have been.
Yeah. The GT, like you said, has always been kind of the mythical thing of Gabe pointed out, the mythical thing of, have you seen GT? I'm like, no, because Toonami won't broadcast it, and I don't know how to get my hands on a copy of it or anything like that. And you would see these designs and these characters, and you'd see SSJ4 Goku, and you're like, holy shit, that actually looks pretty badass, which I think the form actually looks really cool. I love the kind of like the half-ape design and stuff like that. And it's such a different, because for the most part, the other forms are like, okay, longer hair, still gold.
More spiky.
Right, more spiky. It's the same shit. But it was such a departure from the other forms that you're like, man, this looks really cool. I kind of dig it. But it was something I could never get my hands on, and it was something that always eluded me as a kid. Let me see what else.
Speaking of things that eluded me, Dragon Ball Z, did you ever play like the PlayStation 1 games?
The GT?
Yeah, because the GT Final Bout, like the American version, was like impossible to get when I was like a teenager. It was like a $200 game.
It was stupid money. Riley was talking about this at the beginning of the episode, and I had a friend who had a burned copy, and he had a chip inside his PS1, the PlayStation, that allowed him to play burned disc, and that's how I played it for the first time.
I played the Japanese version because there was a game store by my house that would sell the imports of these Dragon Ball games. Like I had Ultimate 22, I had Budokai, like Ultra Instinct or something like that. Ultimate Battle 22.
Yeah.
And he would sell these imported games, but you had to buy like this little box that you put in the back of the PlayStation 1. You had to put a spring in it so that the lid would stay open. Because you had to put an American PlayStation 1 game in it.
Yeah.
It would load up. You would pull it out while it was still spinning and then put in the Japanese game and it would load it. And it was like, I didn't know what was going on because it was all in Japanese or whatever. I would just mash buttons and we would just fight like 100 characters on the screen and stuff.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. I mean, as
no,
a kid, it didn't matter.
It was Dragon Ball. That's all I cared about.
Yeah, you're like, wow, I'm finally playing this game that if you had this game and you had the American version, you were the shit on the playground.
Oh,
like,
I knew one kid that had it because he was like, his parents were divorced, so it was like one of those things where like, he would get like money from both parents for Christmas or whatever, and he had it, one of those types of things. But that was the only time I ever saw it, and it was just that one dude I knew who had it. But I always had to get like the Japanese versions of the games.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting. Also, the reason we got Super was because we got more Dragon Ball was because the movie bombed really hard. Did you ever watch the live action movie?
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's horrible! Holy shit, it was so terrible. Yeah. It was so terrible. Toriyama was like, no, it can't end like this. My life's work will not end like this. So that's part of the reason why we got Super. It's funny because
I haven't seen Super. I haven't seen a new series at all.
It's fun. Yeah. The main actor for that live action movie, he posted on Twitter the other day, "Hey, sorry for me being in that movie." Toriyama's death, and he posted something along the lines of like, "I want to apologize right now for me being in that movie. I'm so sorry."
Yeah, that's almost as bad as like the Airbender movie, where it was like nobody gets it. Like whoever's putting this together just does not understand or get it.
No, nobody gets it. It's a damn shame. I heard the live action Airbender show is actually really good, but I haven't had time to see that.
I've heard about that too, but
that's kind of what I've got as far as the Toriyama stuff. I had another topic that I wanted to bring up. If you guys got anything else you want to wow.
Dragon Ball live action.
You know what? On Blu-ray?
Yep.
I would like DVD, but on Blu-ray, you forked over for the Blu-ray.
I forked over $5 whole.
If you're gonna get it bad, get it in the worst version possible.
I watched this movie at the theater while I was working. Like I was clocked in and had nothing to do, so I just sat there and watched it, and I walked out wanting my money back.
That's one of those things where if I saw it on a plane, I would walk out.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I found this. I was at a used book and video store like last year or 2 years ago, and they had a copy, and I was like, oh my god, I have to at this point.
Yeah. It's like it was like the Garbage Pail Kids movie. It was like I gotta watch it just to say I've seen it.
It's like Madam Web, except Madam Web was an A+ experience. This was like an F-. But yeah, I saw the Justin Chatwin saying, apologizing for the movie, but also, did y'all know that James Marsters, who played Piccolo, redeemed himself by playing Zamasu in Super?
Yep.
So
he did it for almost. I think he did it for almost nothing, right? Isn't that what they said, that he either was for free? He did it for almost no pay or something stupid like that. I think is what I heard.
I don't remember exactly, but I just remember seeing him talking. I think that they didn't credit him at first, I think is what it was. Like he didn't go by his name, or they didn't credit it or whatever. And then I saw him coming out with what's his name, who plays like Piccolo and Vegeta and stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's me. I did it. Yeah, props to him. But
now Gabe was talking about watching Super. He could just watch Battle of the Gods and skip a good chunk of Super, right?
You can watch Battle of the Gods and the Resurrection of F, and watching those two movies, you can skip the first like 28 episodes or something like that.
Because I think I've seen that first movie where they introduced Beerus.
Yeah,
Oh,
Beerus
yeah.
and Beast.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
then that's where they first go Super Saiyan God. Yeah, you can just skip the first two arcs in there, and then the next one is a tournament, and then there's like some filler episodes after that that really don't matter, and then it's the Goku Black arc, and then it's the other half of the series is all another tournament. So
How's the manga for it though?
the manga is a lot quicker with it. It skips the Frieza story though, and it also doesn't. I don't think it does. The only mention of Broly in the manga, because the Broly arc happens after the tournament, or the Broly movie happens after the tournament, is there just a page like when they finished the tournament arc, they were like one page where Toyotaro drew Broly in the corner, like a little extra drawing. Like, yeah, there's Broly. This is where it happens, and then nothing.
What DVD versions do you guys got or whatever? DVD or Blu-ray? What do you guys have?
I don't have anything. I
No?
don't have anything. No.
I had the orange boxes. I had the yellow dragon boxes, and I have the Blu-rays now. Because those yellow dragon boxes, like that, one of those volumes that sold for like $700. I was like, oh,
Really?
Get rid of it. Yeah, like volume 2 was like a $700 like DVD.
Holy shit!
This is years ago though, but yeah, I'm gonna get Kai on Blu-ray or whatever it's on, just because that's that's the version I'm watching now, and I kind of like it better because it's not 1,000 episodes. See, I knew Riley would not disappoint.
Oh my god!
All right, so I don't have everything, but I have the first season of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball has not been released on Blu-ray yet in the US. So I only have the first season box set. I found it for cheap at a store. I would eventually get the other ones, but now I would not be surprised if with his passing they try to figure out a way to get it out on Blu-ray. I've got the complete 9th season set.
Nice.
Of the series. This is not Kai. This is the original length.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I got it on Prime Day like 2 years ago or something for relatively cheap. This is all of the movies, all the DBZ movies from 1 through 13.
Holy shit!
From Dead Zone through Wrath of the Dragon, and it also has the Bardock and Trunks specials.
Oh, those are so
I haven't seen most of those movies yet. That's awesome.
Oh man, Tree of Might is awesome. I love Tree of Might.
I love that Trunks special. That's like one of my favorite things. Future Trunks is my favorite character of all time.
The most watched one for me was Lord Slug, which is the 4th movie. I had that on VHS and I watched it just so many times. That's where he goes false Super Saiyan. Like they didn't introduce Super Saiyan yet, so he couldn't go Super Saiyan, but instead he's basically like Kaioken times whatever, and then his hair looks like Super Saiyan. Then I've got the Battle of the Gods on Blu-ray.
I love that one.
Resurrection of F on Blu-ray.
I need to see that.
My copy of the Broly movie I lent to my brother-in-law, so I don't have it on hand. And then I have Superhero on Blu-ray.
I still haven't seen
GT.
Wow, you got I still haven't seen Superhero. I need to sit down and watch that.
It's a lot of fun, and I think especially because they do some cool stuff with both. Like this is Gohan and Piccolo's movie,
right? Father and son,
right? It's not Vegeta's.
Wait, that's not Yamcha. What are you talking about?
I mean, Gohan does look a lot more like Yamcha than he does Goku, but anyway. It's like they show Goku and Vegeta for a part of the movie, but they're not the focus whatsoever. And it's all about like Gohan and Piccolo having to deal with stuff that kind of spins out from the androids and Cell saga. So, which is cool for me because that's my favorite part of the whole franchise was the androids and Cell saga. And I love that so much because it was like kind of a horror take on stuff, and it was kind of like Toriyama's Terminator fan fiction.
Yeah, I felt the deaths in those ones a lot more than anything else throughout the series. I think
Higher stakes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cell just going through different phases and stuff, like him improving and escalating.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good movies. I would recommend the first Broly movie, not so much the others. The first Cooler movie was cool because you got to have more Frieza type of characters. The Android 13 movie, my first ever online handle came from that movie because the American dub, Android 13 had like this country redneck voice, so my online handle was redneck Android 13. Yeah, those are the main ones that I would say. Yeah, the first Cooler, Android 13, Broly. The others are fun. BoJack Unbound is not anything to do with BoJack Horseman. I'll just let you know that.
Oh,
Yeah,
That'd be great.
oh yeah.
BoJack Horseman Unbound.
Super Saiyan.
Oh,
That's
man.
right.
So yeah, that's, damn, it sucks. It really does suck seeing such an influential person kind of die, and he was only 68.
Yeah.
Way too.
Well, he also
way too.
did the character design for Dragon Warrior too, right? So
Yep.
Yeah, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, Blue Dragon, and if it weren't for Toriyama's work on Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy would not have happened because he not like stylistically inspired, but like the creator of Final Fantasy has gone out to say that like because of the work that they did over on Dragon Quest, that he was inspired to create his own RPG series, which became the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of have to wonder what's going on in Toyotaro's mind right now. Does he keep going? Does he decide to end the series where it's at? Who knows? I mean, Toriyama picked Toyotaro, specifically him, because I think he saw some fan art or something like that, and he's like, no, this guy's really good, and he's really talented. I'm going to bring him on. And he basically became his second-hand man. He's been working the manga for how many years at this point, Riley?
Since when did it start? Sorry, I had it up here a second ago, but
was it Super? So he started since Super, right?
Since 2015. But where he found him was he was the creator of the Dragon Ball AF like fan manga, and Toriyama saw Dragon Ball AF, and it was basically how well he was able to emulate his style and his narrative and his paneling and all that stuff really impressed him. And he wound up being like, come work on the series for real. And he got hired in 2012. He was requested to being the one to draw Dragon Ball Super, debuted his career as an official manga artist under the name Toyotaro. He first did Dragon Ball Heroes Victory Mission, because if you're unaware, there's a ton of these like little short manga that are based on some of the video games, games that mostly did not come out in the US. And these little short manga had cool stuff that was not in the original series. You got other Saiyans, you got other forms, you got other villains and stuff. So pretty cool things that they did over in those short manga. But he started off with one of those, and then eventually did the Resurrection F manga for the movie, and then started being the official artist for Super.
So my question is, where do they go from here? Do you think they keep going? Do you think that they take? I think they'll take a pause for a while, and then eventually come back to it, because it's so big, and you see the influence and the love that people have poured out for it. I think they might just do a Miura where they'll keep going, and I have to wonder if Toriyama laid out, because apparently he had a brain tumor. He knew that his time, that this is all hearsay online and stuff like that. He knew that his time was coming up. So I wonder if he left a plan. This is what I want you to do to kind of wrap things up and close things out.
I think that's the major question. Same with like Berserk.
Yeah.
Did he really lay out any kind of plan? Because if he did, cool. If not, I don't know. It's such a singular vision, right? Like,
I think it is very possible that he had notes and stuff that maybe he shared with Toyotaro. I wouldn't be surprised if he had told Toyotaro that he knew he was going to have limited time, but that's just conjecture. I think that the next move, like, they'll probably wrap up, because I think they're doing in the super manga, they're doing the arc based on the superheroes movie, I believe. So he'll probably wrap that one up, and then they are releasing Daima, which was his last project that he was directly involved in, which I'm now wondering if he went into that knowing that was probably going to be the last thing that he did.
It's weird because it's kind of full circle, because Daima has Goku as a kid again, and Dragon Ball was Goku when he was a kid. So it all kind of just went right back around. And I'm kind of wondering how the story will play out with that, because apparently Daima is going to be canon. They have been working on Dragon Quest 12, so I imagine he did character work for that as well, character designs. There is a game coming out that is based on his art and one of his first manga, and I can't remember the name of it right now. Sandland, and that's pretty far along in development. So it seems like he had multiple balls in the air, multiple projects going on at the same time. So we're probably going to get it over the next few years, things here and there that were from him.
Daima's going to be the one like last thing that it's going to come out and have like dedication to Toriyama and all that stuff. But he talked about that being his like kind of a thing for him that he wanted to do. So it's a lot of why I'm wondering, like, did he know? Did he make this with that knowledge? Like, did he make it because he knew that he had limited time and he wanted to present this one last story? That's my biggest curiosity about it. But I don't know if, like, will they go further, because they've done there is other stuff that he's not involved in, like the video games and their short manga that I was mentioning just a few minutes ago. But will they continue to create more of those kinds of things, continue to make their own continuity, or will they just put a cap on it? That's interesting question to ask.
Here's something I don't see people talking about. How do you think Oda feels? Oda pulled out a beautiful statement, but seeing guys like Miura, Toriyama, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, they all passed. It's really starting to hit home of like, man, all these people that were so influential in our childhood, they're slowly passing away. Mm-hmm. And what's even more crazier is the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh died saving somebody's life, which, man, if you got to go out, amazing stuff. How do you think Oda's feeling that he's got to be, he says he's coming up on the ending of One Piece pretty soon. And a mangaka's life is not easy. I'm wondering if this kind of puts a little bit more pep in his step to go, you know what? Maybe it's time to finally really start wrapping this up eventually.
Well, I know if you read One Piece right now, it's very clear that it's wrapping up.
It's getting there. Yeah,
like it's not like in 2 weeks or something, but like you can tell that it's within the next 100 or so chapters. It is wrapping up, but all the things are like 100 chapters for One Piece is a small amount, right? Mm-hmm. So like it is coming to the end. You can tell. My thing is, I'm wondering if he's going to wrap up and then decide to retire.
I would not blame. I would not blame.
And just hang it up and be like, I did my work. It's a work that's going to continue to keep him afloat for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Studios can do movies if they want, I guess, and continue with the characters, but But
he would be the next big one, right? On the scale of Toriyama, he would be the next. Lord forbid if he passes, that would be the next one. It's like, fuck.
He and Kishimoto, the Naruto creator, and Togashi, which is the Hunter x Hunter creator, and Togashi is like it hurts me to say it, but he's likely going to be the next one to go because of how bad his health has been.
Yeah, he's got health issues.
Like 15 to 20 years, and it's just been deteriorating over time. Like, so he's, I don't want to put it out there, but I think everyone knows that he's probably the next one.
Yeah, it's kind of the George R.R. Martin thing where you look at George R.R. Martin and you go, you're probably not going to finish those last 2 books, big guy. You'll probably get through one more, but we're probably not going to get the ending to this series, unfortunately.
On the George R.R. Martin thing's funny is like I was watching, there was a TikTok by Brandon Sanderson that I saw the other day. He was like, I'm sorry guys, I did it again. I was doing whatever and just I wrote another book on accident. So this book's coming out, and it was in the comments they were like, how like Brandon Sanderson's writing books on accident and George R.R. Martin can't get another book out for the past however many years.
But to be fair, Brandon Sanderson is a machine. It's stupid how much content and how much fully formed and full-length novels he's putting out, and it's impossible to keep up with at this point. I think he has a book or 2 comes out almost every year at this point. It's stupid. It's insane.
Well, that's almost like Stephen King too.
Yeah. And Sanderson teaches a college course. He does consulting on stories on games and stuff like that. He has a podcast. The guy works. The guy, oh my god. Man. So yeah, that's kind of what I got. We've hit the hour mark. I had a second topic, but I think we're good if you guys are good.
Yeah. I didn't have anything to say on that one, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think Toriyama's passing and the legacy of Dragon Ball is the main topic for this. You can go out with that for sure.
Where can they get some of Toriyama's work, Riley?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, because I do have a pretty decent spot that you can go find some of those things. And that is at InStockTrades.com, our sponsor. You can find a lot of good manga, comics, etc. at great discounts. If you make an order within the next 8 days of your previous order, you get another 2% off. Free shipping in the US at $50. Great packaging, customer service, all that good stuff. Yes, show us what they have available right now. They do have some of the full color editions, which were never completed in the US. They were completed in Japan, though. So one of the questions that I've had on my mind, and I don't like to be thinking this way all the time because I feel like it's kind of selfish, but I wonder what Viz Media, the publisher, is going to do in reaction to, like, for lack of a better terms, how are they going to capitalize? Like, that's the only way to put it. Are they going to release new editions? Are they going to release some of his untranslated works? Are they going to continue the colored editions? That's the stuff that I'm curious about at the moment.
Well, I would imagine this year you're not going to hear anything. Next year you might start hearing rumblings of we're going to start getting deluxe editions of Dragon Ball, kind of something along the lines of what they did with Berserk, because it's a license to print money, and they could do, sketches, but they could go all out like they've done with the Berserk hardcovers, and you would get so much money if you start with Dragon Ball and take it all the way through Super. That is a lot of material to put together.
I'd probably be on the hook for that, to be honest. I like these white bordered mangas, but if they're going to do like hardcovers or like a new cool edition, I'd be on the hook for them, I think.
Yeah.
What they should do is do a new translation for, like, not that I have any problem with the current translation, but because do y'all know who the translation, like who did the adaptation that we have now?
Mm-mm. No.
Mr. Gerard Jones.
Gerard Jones?
The guy, the DC editor that got caught with kitty stuff on his computer or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they've been using that same translation forever. And I've been wanting to see them do something. Like every time they do a new edition of it, I look back or I look into the books to see, and it's still like using the same one.
Wow.
So they need to do a new adaptation of it so that they can stop having his name in there.
I mean, they could get Akira Yoshida. I'm sure he'd be down to do the translation of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I would put money. Sometime next year, we'll start hearing rumblings of a deluxe edition of Dragon Ball with a nice hardcover trim and all that other stuff. So I
There'll
would
probably be new DVD sets or Blu-ray sets coming out.
Oh my god,
we're probably gonna get we're just gonna get a blizzard of like Dragon Ball Z stuff pretty soon.
Well, Viz does announcements every 4 months. They just did last month, so their next big round is going to be in June, and then one more this year, big round of announcements in October. And those are for things that come out like 9 months down the road. So I could imagine them in October having announcements for something that would come out, mid 2025.
Maybe something along the lines of the deluxe editions that they did with 20th Century Boys and Monster and stuff like that.
They have the Viz Big editions, which are like that same trim. They're actually a little bit bigger, but some people are not as fond of them. So
no, for something like this, I think they would have to go all out. They couldn't cheap out on this. They would have to really do it right.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest icons of manga, I think there is Dragon Ball.
All right, guys, I gotta get going.
Cool.
All right, sounds good. Thanks everyone for tuning in with us. Let me turn off the thing at the bottom. Gabe, Lou, do y'all have anything y'all need to plug? Anywhere people you might want them to find you?
Next Saturday, Lou will be doing the Patreon.
All right.
Yep.
So that'll be next Saturday.
Sorry. Patreon.
Yeah, next Saturday at 5. Hang out with me and Lou. It's the Patreon hangout after dark. Things get a little wild, a little spicy on there. $5 a month will get you in. We've been doing this for the last since the pandemic, so 3 years, 4 years worth of stuff.
Probably 3 years at this point. So there's a
lot of back material back there of us hanging out and stuff. So make it happen.
Cool. And you can find me the Omnibus Collector on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, and Omni Collector on Twitter. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us. Y'all have a good night.